Hi everyone! I know it's been a long time since I've done a live, and this is actually coming a little bit unannounced because all day I've been trying to post about my live and Instagram just doesn't like me enough. As you can see behind me, there is an amazing book. It's called Oliver and Erica and it's by Desiree. And if you give me 2 minutes, I will get her to come through. I have had quite a few technical errors with Instagram of late, so bear with me. It doesn't like me as much. Let's see if we can get through. Really looking forward to this but this book that you can see behind me looks amazing, and her latest release, which comes out in November, is just something that really caught my eye. So let me see if I can request. Let me send you the invite. There we go. I've sent the invite, so let's just see. Hi everyone. Oh, there we are.
Let me see. Hold on.
Oh, don't worry. Instagram doesn't like me today. We've had so many technical errors.
I'm trying to get. Wait, hold on. I'm just trying to get because I'm doing it with my phone. So there. Now, but I'm sideways now. I'm done. Okay, then it will be like this.
Yeah.
Hi.
You know, all day I've literally been I don't even know what's going on with Instagram. I've got my live post already. It's been on there 10 times this morning. I tried and then I gave up. So I thought, right, it might just be me. So I deleted it and put it back on. No. So I was like, right, I'm just going to have to go and just leave it without it because it's just not going to happen. I don't know what's going on. Won't let me post anything today. So how are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm doing good. I don't know how it's in the UK right now, but I think you're there.
Oh, so tell us, for those of you that have never heard of you, and are a little bit like myself, getting to know what sort of work you do and how your books are. Give us a bit of background on yourself and your work.
Yeah, well, I consider myself a contemporary romance author, though I do dabble in women's fiction as well. And you could say that Oliver and Erica, which is my debut novel, falls more under the women's fiction genre. But the novel that's coming out in November is the really typical contemporary romance, rock star, bad boy romance novel. Then I'm kind of like, in the romance genre, I tend to go through different subgenres, and I like, being diverse in that aspect.
Ah. Well, it's always good to be diverse because I think so many authors now are sort of within their own genre, aren't they? But it's nice to have something where you can sort of flip between. So I suppose it's a bit refreshing for yourself, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, and I sometimes I have doubts because if you have like your reader or your fan base, they tend to like a typical kind of genre, not all, but then they're used to I don't know, like the bad boy or the billionaire or the whatever subgenre, and then you suddenly come out with something else which is still romance, but quite a different subgenre, and then they'll be like, this is not what I'm used to. So, but it's I think I do like to experiment, and I like to. Right now, I'm writing another novel, which I'm talking with one of my editors. Do you think this is going to work? Because it's written completely from the hero's point of view, and it's like this retrospective narrative where at the beginning the reader doesn't know if he's won the girl or not, and then you know, she's like, well, you have to be very careful, you know, because you're writing for yourself, but in the end, you don't want to disappoint your readers. So be sure to get that happily ever after in there, you know. So but I do like to, you like push the boundaries, and in the end, if you like what you write, you know, I think that's one of the most important things. You're also writing for yourself, and of course taking into consideration what your readers are used to and what they like. So it's a balance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. I think as a writer, you write for yourself, don't you, first off? But then the more you sort of start writing for your readers a little bit more. What is what do you find the hardest out of all the processes of writing, editing, formatting, publishing? What is the hardest point for you?
The hardest point for me being an author is, I think, if I'm really honest, this part, you know, the marketing, getting yourself out there. I'm not, you know, I'm not very social media savvy, and I'm not, I think maybe a little of the older generation. So for me to be able to keep up, because once you've got, you know how this works, and then something else comes out, and then they keep changing it, and you're like, oh my gosh, but I just want to write, you know. But of course, this is a very important part of the process, to be able to get your book to the reader, and for them to know what's going on, and what you're doing, and, you know, to follow for that, you know, you want to take the reader along your journey, and it's a beautiful thing. But for them to be able to do that, and for you to be able to reach them, you've got to do this social media and the marketing and the promotion, but I think that would be one of the things I struggle the most with. And if I'm talking about, you know, the writing process in itself, I'm trying to be a plotter, but you know, I have got all these Post-its, and, you know, like, this is how it should be, and the process and the steps, and, you know, the beats, and then I try to plan, and in the end, you know, when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it again. And I was just, you know, I let go everything I planned. And it's, I think, you know, on one hand, it's a beautiful thing, because once the creative juices get flowing, you know, you can leave the whole planning behind and just write, which is in the end what you want, to get those words on paper. But in my case, you know, then I have to go back, because I'm at chapter 20, and I'm like, I think this doesn't, you know, there's like a hole in my plot, and then I have to go back, or, you know, I send it to my editor, and she's like, I think, you know, there's something that's mismatching, and I'm like, oh yeah, because I you know, I planned that, and then I plotted this, and then so. Yeah, I think it's that's also something that I have to work on.
As an author, to sit and, you know, you've got all these ideas going around in your head, and you just want to get them out on the paper so fast, but then when it comes to it and you're looking back and you're like, everything that I actually sat out with is just not what I actually sat out with.
Yeah, and the work, I mean, it's also, you know, you try to focus on one project, and, you know, in my case, I've got, you know, I'm promoting Oliver and Erica, but then I've got my new novel coming out in November, and I'm writing another novel simultaneously, but then I've got like these whole ideas, because the novel that's coming out in November, it's part of book 1 of a series. So, you know, every idea that comes up, you want to put them on paper so that you don't forget. And then you're like, oh my God, now I'm doing like 3,000 things at the same time and not getting anything done, you know, so that's also something you have to.
Talking of your novel that's coming out in November, give us a bit more info about that. I've read the blurb because Ayana sent it to me, and I was literally like, oh, okay, I want to read this.
Yeah. So it's, as I said, it's, you know, a contemporary romance novel, and the trope is the rock star, bad boy, misunderstood hero. I do like to make all my heroes and heroines flawed, so nobody's perfect and they make mistakes, and that's part of life. And then doesn't mean that I agree with what I write, the choices that they make, but I find it very interesting to get that in their developmental, in their character arc, that they start out some place and they've made a bad choice, or in there they have some emotional issue, and then there's some kind of growth there. So in the case of my novel Interviewing Michael, which is coming out in November, the beginning of November, the story starts where he's a rock star, and he's been in a terrible accident, and he lost his brother and also the ability to create music. And before that, you already get a sense that he doesn't like the media because of, I'm not going to spoil it. And but then comes in, the beautiful, charming heroine, and she's a music journalist. And because of circumstances, they have the meet cute, and they're kind of like forced to work together because it's a win-win situation for both of them. And then, during that process that she gets to interview him, a lot of things happen, and then it's like, you've got to read the book to see how it ends.
You've got to read the book.
Yeah. So
a blurb and seeing just the development within your blurb, I was like, oh, okay. I really cannot wait to read it, because it does it really gripping, and it looks like a really good rock star romance, which I think I haven't really had that many of late, really, rock star romances. We've had a lot
the last one I've read is Drive with, I think it's Kate Stewart, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's the last one I've read. I mean, I haven't seen another one come out. I mean, I'm sure there have been more after that one, but that's the one which I know, which is most known to me. And and it really, the whole rock star background, of course, it plays an important role, but it could have been any other profession. It's just to give it, an extra, So the music aspect in the book, it plays a role, but it's not like the most important thing in the plot. Yeah.
So with your what was I going to say? Do you know, I lose my own train of thought when I'm talking.
Okay.
Get going, and I'm like, oh, I've got a question, and then it goes completely. With writing, how do you like when you get writer's block and things like that, how do you overcome those situations?
The writer's block, you mean?
Yeah.
Anytime I feel like like I'm stuck, then I read. I mean, I think I love reading. And I think my passion for writing comes from all the novels I've read in the past. So anytime I'm stuck, I just grab a book, and then they inspire you. I mean, you read other people's work, and even if it's not something that you would like or whatever, it also gives you like, okay, I'm not going to do this, and then it gives you an idea, how would I do it? So it tends to help me in my case to surpass this like writer's block. And I also, this sounds very silly, but I've got like periods where I don't write, and then I'm just watching series, and I'm like, oh, this is such a good plot. I could use things and integrate them in my story. And of course, you're not going to copy it, but they do give you some kind of inspiration, to keep on going. Even if it's just little things like, personalities of characters, or a setting, or some kind of small event which you can use, and then maybe like creatively, mash up and then use them in your story to help it go along.
Definitely. I agree with you on that. I do. I think sometimes you sort of get yourself into a spot where you've done that much writing and that much, you just sort of stop, don't you? And I must admit, even as an author myself, I do that. I'll sit and watch a series, and then I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, oh, well, I could write something that could, and you just go off in a tangent, don't you? Then it just completely out a whole new story. So I do. from on that, because it's such a
Yeah. And even if you don't like what you're seeing, like, no, I would have never written that like that. I'm going to.
ones when you're like, what's going on? No. Oh, I could write this so much better.
Yeah, exactly. I can do much better. And then you go back to the table. Yeah.
So what got you into writing? What inspired you to start writing?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm by day, I'm an English teacher. Here, I live in the Netherlands, and I teach English to Dutch students, which of course would be very different if English is your native language. I mean, for us to, you know, speak English as a teacher, we don't have to be natives to be able to teach our students the language. It's just basically, you know, kind of like the European standards which we have, which well, they're required to be able to speak this at the end of high school. And during my studies, I followed many courses of poetry, but also narratology and screenwriting, and that's how I kind of like, I mean, as I said before, I always love to read, but during these courses you start experimenting with your own, you know, skills, writing skills. And I remember I wrote my first, it was a screenplay. So Oliver and Erica, I wrote it many years ago. I'm talking about like 20 years ago, and it was a short screenplay. And the ending also was different, but that inspired me to, like, I had it, and then I found it somewhere, and I was like, oh yeah, this could be you know, a full-length novel. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it. So I wrote it, and then I sent it to my sister-in-law, actually, and she was like very impressed, and she's like, no, you can't just, you know, let it sit on the shelves. You've got to do something with this. And I'm like, yeah, you just have to say that because you're my sister and, you know, family. So I let other people read it, and I got really nice honest feedback. So I've made a lot of changes, of course, and well, that's how it all, you know, it all happened. And then with Oliver and Erica, I published it through it's a Dutch agent at first, and in the end I republished it because I made some modifications, and then I republished it myself. I self-published it again this year in 2022. So the cover you're seeing is the new cover. It's the brand new, the new and improved Oliver and Erica.
It's really a beautiful cover.
Yeah, I have to thank my Susanna. She does my covers and my formatting, and she's amazing. I mean, I couldn't have done it without her.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? So who do you have your team? Well, obviously, because you're sort of growing within the author industry now.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, I have somebody she's my Sarah. She's my, you could say, my developmental editor, and she takes it from the beginning and when it's really raw, and she does a wonderful job just making sure that the story, that, you know, the plot is coherent and that there are no big holes in it. And she also is really honest and lets me know if the story is commercially sellable, because of course, you know, in the end, that's also one of the goals. And from there, I clean it up completely, and then she gives it a look over again. And from there, I have my line or my copy editor, and she makes sure that, you know, everything's as it's supposed to be. And I have Susanna, which is my, you know, she does the covers and the formatting. And yeah, and Ayana, you know, she's my PA, so she helps me get my book out there and helps get my book noticed. And it's a small team, but I mean, and I'm just starting out, you know, compared to other people. So I'm working my way slowly up, but I really rely on them, and they're such a help, and I really couldn't do it without them. So it's great to have them.
How have you found the author community? Because from myself, my perspective of the author community, I started out as a blogger doing this, and I still do now. This is sort of what I go with, and then I do my author as well. But with the author community, it's very, everybody's everybody's so kind and they'll help you out. So if you ever need any help, always reach out because anybody will help. And there's so many
Yes.
people as well.
Yeah.
Found the community in a whole so far.
Yeah, as you say, I can, everybody is full of advice, good advice, and you can even just to vent, or if you have a question, which as silly as it might be, as you're starting out and you're like, I'm even embarrassed to ask this, what does that mean? And because there's so many, I don't know, terms and acronyms and stuff that you're like, I'm way behind, and still they have the patience to explain it and always encourage you to keep on going. So I think, it's one of, I can't compare it to other communities, but if I would have to say, I think the author community, especially the indie author community, they're a bunch of lovable people that, it's great. I really enjoy.
So with your next release, which comes out in November, have you got a name for it yet? Because Ayana didn't give me the name.
Yes. Yeah, Interviewing Michael. And it's going to be book 1 of the Seal series because it's Michael Seal. His last name is Seal. And they're a musical family. So there's a sister there, which has a very interesting story as well. And it actually, the whole series idea came because my beta readers fell in love with certain characters, secondary characters, and like, you've got to do something with this character, so you can't just leave this as a standalone. So that's how it all came to be. So I decided to it's going to be a trilogy. Well, we'll see how it goes. So it's Interviewing Michael, book 1 of the Seal series.
Definitely going to get more from these, and I look forward to it. I really do. So how are you, so what's new what else will be following that then? What else will be coming out for you following you, Michael?
Yeah, well, I have, as I said, another work in progress right now. It's really raw. That's the one I was telling you about with the male character point of view. So I think that will be out somewhere in 2023. I'm not sure if it's going to be, in the beginning or somewhere around April, May. And then I'm simultaneously writing the series. So I've got kind of, a couple of things lined up right now, but, the focus is getting my release out and finishing the work in progress. I'm, with this new book, and simultaneously I'm starting on book 2 of the series. So I'm going to be very busy.
You are very, very busy all at once. Wow. So,
yeah.
My phone was going to die, and then I was like, oh no. children have had my phone all day since coming home from school. So like, as soon as I was like, oh my god, no, not today, So what from writing, tell us a bit more about you as an author, aside from being an author.
You mean as my personal life?
What are your hobbies other than writing?
Yeah. Okay, well, daughter of expats, so we are used to, we would go from one place to another, and I think with only 3 years in between, and which means that, I'm very used to like packing up and then leaving and going somewhere else. And it has had many advantages. As an adult, you're flexible, and I speak 4 languages fluently, and I love different cultures, and I adapt quickly. On the other hand, I don't have childhood friends, and I've found them again through Facebook. After 20 years, but you sometimes miss having like the roots in some place. And well, right now I'm living in the Netherlands with my husband and my 2 kids, and I'm settled here. And well, as I said, I'm a teacher by day. I teach English, but I love, I have also, I studied TV and film, and we have like the TV club, which I coordinate at school. And, well, that's like, that's it. It's not that.
Is beyond me. You think, wow, to do all that and still get all your book out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's but as my kids are older now, my son is 13 and my daughter will be 11, and they're getting older, so they get more independent, and that gives you more free time to be able to write, especially at night. We get a lot of writing done, so I'm really blessed that I'm able to balance that out a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. I suppose it does help having them grow up. As children grow up, gives you that little bit of extra time, doesn't it? And gives you that time
Yeah.
to you, I suppose, other than just mom. So with your next release, can you sum it up in 5 words or sentences for me?
Ooh, as in the trope and stuff, you mean? The release?
Just give me 5 words or sentences to sell your book, really, I suppose. Just want to read it.
Okay, so it's rockstar romance, vulnerable bad boy. Yeah, I've got the sassy but charming heroine, and in the novel is hope and unconditional love, which is, I think, the message that I'm trying to give in this book.
That's an amazing message. That is such an amazing message to want to give out in a book, isn't it? Because it's just, romance can be defined in so many different ways. I always love a book that has sort of a great meaning behind it as well. I think it always gives you something extra, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree. That there is at least some kind of thing you can take from it if you've read it. And I mean, there's so many beautiful books out there, so if your book can leave a little message or something, that's nice if you can achieve that.
If you can reach out to somebody and help somebody, that's always a good thing, isn't it, with a book?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on a live. I will certainly have to, as soon as your book comes out, you'll have to join me on live again, and we can get it all out there and see what everyone else is saying as well, and push it forward. If you need any marketing or anything, you know where I am. I'll help you as much as I can.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carly, for having me.
So welcome. I'm sorry I haven't managed to get all the posts on, but honestly, send me anything you want, and I'll help you get the word out there, because it does look a really good book to read.
I will.
For anybody for them. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a lovely
Thank you.
And good luck, please.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. You try and there we go. Come on. There we go. There we are, everyone. A new author for everybody to take a look at. If you haven't followed her already, head on over to her page and follow Desiree. And there we are. I will see you all soon. Bye.